Hey everyone, it's Ryan here. So it's not very often I do these type of videos, but for what I'm talking about specifically, don't think of it's going to be like a weekly thing or not. So Raw happened, like obviously less than 24 hours ago. It's currently 2 in the morning for me here, so it would have been in the first hour of the show 24 hours ago. But it was the Raw after Survivor Series, and I sort of wanted to go over it for a couple of reasons. One, because it was actually surprisingly good. And I'm not saying obviously I did, but everyone's been saying for a while that like the Survivor Series concept sort of has no meaning now because nothing comes as a result of it. They managed to change that on Raw, which was nice. So I'm going to go review of the night and then basically what I thought of it. And the reason I wanted to review this one was because I personally thought it was a really good episode of Raw, but unfortunately, one or two moments that sort of gets pointed out that wasn't like meant to be part of the show. Sort of, I guess that's what everyone's going to take away from it, which I think is a massive disservice to the show itself last night. So we start off with the 5 members of Team Raw in the ring and Adam Pearce, who Adam Pearce is essentially just the authority figure for both shows. Essentially, he's got them all in there. He basically congratulates them on how they did at Survivor Series by having a clean sweep against Team SmackDown. So from there, he's deciding who should challenge Drew next for the WWE title, which I'm a big fan of that concept. Like, it's no longer Orton, which I'll get into later. Believe me, I was happy when Orton won the title. I just thought they should have done it earlier. And the fact that we had that feud for about 4 months was a bit too long. Sort of the same with the whole Seth and Ray thing on SmackDown. Like, that had been going for about 6 months. So essentially, he gives everyone the chance to claim why they should be next to the title opportunity. Sheamus says he's good friends with Drew McIntyre and he knows he can bring the best out of Drew McIntyre. AJ Styles says because he was a team captain and he led them to victory. Keith Lee says he was the one that pinned the SmackDown team captain. Riddle says, he would just love to have a match with Drew. He just for some reason he says, he'd just love to take a Claymore from Drew for some reason. And then Braun gets angry because, they all start like arguing at each other. Then Braun gets really angry because he was the one that was last came to, and he believes that he shouldn't give a reason as to why he deserves a title shot because he's this big monster and he should be the one leading the company essentially. He confronts Adam about headbutts him, and then that's the end of that segment. So there's moments later on where they're trying to get an interview with Adam Pearce. He's just come out the trainer's room, like the doctor's room essentially, and like he goes to speak to Kayla about it, but then MVP interrupts. I think Bobby Lashley interrupts actually, not MVP. I believe Bobby Lashley interrupts, and he I don't think you don't get a majority of the conversation. He just says he wants to talk to. You get the main bit. He basically says, "Well, I was the only champion at Survivor Series that actually won their match, so I feel like I deserve a shot as well." And then Kayla goes away, and then it's sort of like that quiet discussion where you don't hear what they're saying. Then comes back, they try again, but Randy Orton comes along. Randy doesn't say anything. It sort of like has to give another couple of minutes. Kayla then comes back again. I don't know if it was like all in. I think it was sort of like they're there, then they come back to it, and then like they go through a break, come back, and it's the same thing. Eventually, after all that, he announces 3 singles matches on Raw on that night. The winners of them will then go into a triple threat number 1 contenders match to face Drew McIntyre for the WWE title at, I believe, TLC. This was sort of like one of the big talking points that everyone's just going to keep bringing up now. Like, it's about because he accidentally says Drew McInfart, which everyone thinks, well, how did you mess up Tyre to fart? The only thing I can think is he was meant to say to face Drew McIntyre as far as Braun is concerned, because the next thing he says is Braun has been either his next or his before, but I think like he was thinking as far as I'm concerned type thing. But like, because I do it myself sometimes. Like, I'm talking, but I'm thinking a few words ahead, and then you just jumble the words together. So yeah, unfortunately, that's now a thing. that people are pointing out, which, you know, I did like seeing some people saying, like, defense saying, well, he did just get like a massive hit to the head by Braun, so maybe he's not fully thinking. But yeah, I think just because of just how it, like, just because it came out as Drew McIntyre, that's literally all everyone's thinking now. Like, if it was a backstage segment, surely they could have just tried redoing it or something, but I guess because it was live, they couldn't. But yeah, so I like that concept. So the matches he does are Matt Riddle versus Sheamus, Keith Lee versus Bobby Lashley, and AJ Styles versus Randy Orton. So the first one is Riddle and Sheamus. That's a really good match between those two. Riddle gets the roll up for the victory. Well, actually, the first match of the night is New Day versus Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin for the tag titles again, in a rematch from last week, I believe. So the way this came about was there was a backstage segment. They're supposed to be having a night off, and they basically provoke New Day into a tag time match. Xavier accepts the chat. He's like, "Oh, if you want to fight, let's go to the ring." And there's this look of like a bit of frustration from Kofi because he basically wanted it to be his night off because of the match they had the night before. I feel like they're sort of hinting at a heel turn for the both of them, whereas obviously Hurt Business are a bit more neutral, I think. Again, so it lasts about 3 minutes. It goes to a double count out, which would have been annoying if that was the result at the end of the night. But then they restart the match, and it's a really good match after that. It sort of felt like this show to me felt like pay-per-view worthy, just with some of the matches in there. Yeah, again, another really good match. It's another roll-up victory though. So I think that became a theme tonight, was there was a lot of roll-up victories. But yeah, it's another roll-up victory. Xavier and Kofi retain the titles. And then I believe it's the second Adam Pearce segment. Or like the one for like the last one. So the first match of the qualified matches is Matt Riddle versus Sheamus, which is a really good match. Riddle does win with the roll up. He does kick out things like the bro kick and all that stuff. I'd definitely recommend watching it. So Riddle's qualified. There's a bit later on. I can't remember if this is before the match or not, where MVP's backstage and Matt Riddle goes to talk to him. And he's like, "Oh, I've got this brilliant idea. How about," it's like, "I like pizza. I like yogurt. How about pizza flavored yogurt?" I'm saying yogurt because obviously American. And then he goes, "Come on, like, I got a million ideas. We could work together. We could do business." And then MVP goes, "Yeah, first off, I'm not your bro." And you just hear, "Aw," like that. And there's a brief moment where MVP just has to stop himself from laughing. You just see him go like that. Like you can tell that you're like I laughed at it. I thought it was quite funny. And then yeah, essentially it just doesn't work out. And then I think that leads to Bobby Lashley versus Keith Lee. Another funny moment in the night as well. They were doing the WWE shop advertisement, but with R-Truth, who is 24/7 champion. And whilst he's doing it, there's a ref stood near him, and then he's like, "Why are you here?" It's like, I'm advertising the shop. What, like, why do I need to worry about anything when I'm advertising for the shop? Drew Gulak appears behind him, rolls him up. Actually, he grabs the Money in the Bank briefcase from behind him, and then smacks him in the back of the head and pins him. And then a brilliant moment is as he's got the title, it starts doing the Fiend's music, and obviously they're all worried and everything. And then just behind, you just see this little person pop up, and they've got like the Fiend mask like that, but a hoodie on, and you just hear in like it's got obviously the Asian hint to it because it's Akira Tozawa, but he just goes yowie wowie like that, and then they all run off, and then he just takes the hood off and goes, "Where are you going?" So I thought that was quite funny. Yeah, second match of the qualifying. Like, I'm not doing it in order because I can't remember the order exactly. I'll make sure I review everything on the show. Bobby Lashley versus Keith Lee. That match, again, was pretty good. The main story is Bobby Lashley can't get the hurt lock on Keith Lee. He keeps powering out of it. It's literally just who's more powerful out of the two. MVP on multiple occasions gives Bobby Lashley a bit of help by attacking Keith Lee whilst the ref isn't looking. There's a couple of moments where he pushes him into the ring post on the outside. The end of the match is Keith Lee powers out the Hurt Lock. I think he just shoulder barges Bobby Lashley or something, but then MVP attacks Keith Lee, so it's a DQ. So Keith wins by disqualification. In a way, it protects both of them, but again, it's another Keith Lee match on Raw that ends in some like shenanigans. Essentially, he's very rarely got a clean win on the show. So far we have Riddle and Keith Lee for next week. At one point, I believe Lana's talking about how she was the sole survivor, and then Asuka takes it as a challenge for the title. So she gives her a title match. So that happened. As it's about to start, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler come out, and within a minute, immediately, it's a disqualification because Asuka starts pouring water over Shayna and Nia, and then they attack her. Lana helps Asuka escape, and then later on there's a tag match between the two of them, or I believe it follows afterwards. I'd say the biggest talking point that happened was Nia's about to put Lana through the table again. Lana escapes. She's leant across the table. Nia's by the apron, and she goes to charge at Lana. Lana ducks out of the way. Nia flies over the table. And whilst that's happening, I believe Asuka rolls Shayna up for the win. So they both win. Lana makes it to the top of the ramp. So it's like you got Nia's just popped her head back up over the announce table. Shayna's in the ring complaining about being rolled up. Asuka's on the outside of the ring, and Lana's up by the ramp. And funny enough, the whole putting Lana through the table has stopped, because my guess is that's what the build-up for Survivor Series was meant to be, was Lana getting the upper hand on Nia, I guess. We think it's going to lead to a tables match at TLC, which wouldn't surprise me considering that's what the whole thing's been. Like, obviously Nia putting Lana through the table. It was like, I guess it's sort of fine in a way, because like we all knew Lana wasn't going to beat Asuka, and I think it would have been very disappointing for a lot of people if Lana did. I feel like it'd be the whole Carmella situation over again. Like, someone as talented and dominating as Asuka is losing to someone that's not of that caliber. But funny enough, Lana's had 3 women's title shots in her career. I believe Ember Moon's had 1, like where it's a one-on-one situation. I don't know if she was in the chamber match. And I believe there's a couple of superstars that like Lana's had more women's title shots than, and it just seems to come from, she hasn't done anything like to qualify or like to essentially, well, apart from this one, like with this one she was the sole survivor, so in a way I guess she's the only one that deserves something. But I believe with the other 2 it was just because she just pissed off who the champion was. And this one is literally Asuka just goes up to her. It's like, oh, you want a title shot, do you? Come on then. And it's like, oh, okay. But yeah, again, I'm intrigued to see what they do with it. Maybe it'll be Shayna versus Asuka, whilst we've got Nia versus Lana. I don't know who would be the next contender for Asuka, unless it's Lana again. And then we have Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss are set to have a match. There's the Firefly Funhouse segment with Bray and Alexa, and they're talking about friendship and how it's like disgusting and it's like overrated and all this stuff. Because Bray basically talks about, I had a friend once, and then when you think you get really close to them, and then they burn your house down, which is basically hinting to Randy Orton, which does come into play later on, which I'm fine with because they were sort of building up to it a few months back, I think. Like even a few weeks ago they were building up to it. And then this friendship frog shows up, and everyone's like, oh, who are you? He goes, I am the friendship frog, blah, blah, blah. And then Alexa essentially murders it with a hammer or something. She just beats the crap out of it until it dies. And then they do this like tribute package to it, like a WWE tribute package, and there's like Friendship Frog 1980 to 2020. And then they're like, oh, it's really sad that Friendship Frog died. Well, I guess it's a shame he croaked. And then they all start having a laugh, and then they go, bye! And then that's the end of the segment. For Nikki and Alexa, Nikki has a little promo in the gorilla position before she goes out. I like when they do that, like, because they used to do it in the Attitude Era as well, where they have an interview just before their match. I like when it's in gorilla position and then it transitions straight into their entrance. This is the first time I've heard Nikki's music. I know they changed it a few months ago, This is the first time I've heard it, and I don't like it. Like, I guess because maybe it's C. Foster did the old music, that's why they can't use it, but they could have at least done something similar. Like, she's doing this whole crazy character, but she's got this country music playing, which fits Mickey James or Lacey Evans more than Nikki Cross. Alexa Bliss then comes out. Obviously, she's got her new outfit for the Firefly Funhouse and everything, where she's sort of dressed like a schoolgirl, I guess. Not like that type of schoolgirl, but you know what I mean, where it's like the little dungarees and the pink, like the little pink shirt underneath, or pink dress or whatever. And I like the remix they've done for her music, because it goes so well with how her music starts, and then you got that, and then it normally plays the rest of the music. That bit, especially with the Fiend stuff, I was like, it's so fitting that she's the one that basically becomes, you know, the Fiend's friend, essentially. I guess like she's still just called Alexa, because obviously Bray's still called Bray. Whether they do a female Fiend or anything, I don't know. I quite like what they're doing with Alexa right now, especially in this match as well. So Nikki's in the promo literally says, look, I've tried to talk to her, I've tried to talk her out of it, it's not going to work. I don't care anymore. I'm just going to beat the crap out. I'm going to try and beat some sense into her, because obviously the Fiend's took over her, so maybe if I beat her up enough, the Fiend will leave her alone. As the match is going on and she's like hitting move after move, Alexa starts like laughing a bit more, keeps getting hits with clothesline. As she's being pulled back up, she's still laughing again. There's one bit where I think Nikki's about to go for her finisher, and Alexa suddenly just has this change of look on her face, looks at her hands, notices she's wearing stuff that's different. She starts crying. She's like, what's happening? Like, Nikki, what's happening? Why am I wearing this? And it like gets really emotional, starts crying. Nikki's hesitant to help out at first, and then helps her up. They hug, and then it's immediately into a Sister Abigail. People have been calling it a flatliner because that's all what it looks like, but I think without the, like, essentially Sister Abigail is essentially a rotating flatliner without the little animation before it, you know, like the little kiss to the head before the, but I just love she's crying, like comforts her like that, and then immediately just snaps and hits with Sister Abigail, pins her, doing a whole playful thing, and then Alexa goes away smiling, happy, whereas Nikki breaks down instead. Where Nikki goes from this, I don't know. Maybe challenges Alexa to some type of stipulation at TLC. I doubt it, but like I said, I'm intrigued to see what happens next. Which is a theme for the night for me. Like, the reason I enjoyed this Raw so much is because it's given me a reason to tune in next week. Like, the only times I've actually tuned into Raw on a regular basis are literally these past few weeks, because I wanted to see what happens. Especially after Survivor Series. I'm definitely glad I tuned into this one. The third match, which is the main event, is Randy Orton versus AJ Styles. They keep saying it's WrestleMania caliber, and I get it because they had it at WrestleMania 35. But when you keep saying it all the time, especially in such a short time frame, it gets annoying. It would have been fine if they just had it spread 2 or 3 times across the show, but they had it about 7 or 8 times within this. The story to the match is, it just goes as it is. AJ and Orton wrestling a normal match. There's a bit where they're both on the outside. Orton's about to get in the ring. The ref's talking to him. AJ's on the floor on the outside. And whilst that's happening, his manager, I forgot, Moas, I think his name was, the really big guy, grabs him and essentially just launches him onto the apron, which he then does a running knee onto Orton and takes control that way. Later on in the match, as Orton's got control, the Fiend's music starts playing as he's on the outside of the barricade, and then the Fiend pops up over the barricade, and as the lights go back to normal, Orton looks over and the Fiend's gone. So he's looking over the barricade going, I swear he was here. Goes back in the ring. You think AJ's going to take advantage of that and get the win. It goes on for another couple of minutes. He hits AJ with the draping DDT, and this is where the second moment that people keep talking about happened, which, again, it's not to the fault of the wrestlers. It's more the camera work. As he's doing his vintage DDT, or Orton DDT, you can see the Fiend in the background climbing over the barricade before the next bit where the Fiend's music hits again. And then Orton's looking around and the Fiend is stood on the apron near him. So yeah, it was I can't blame him for that one, because that's just the camera work. It's nothing on the wrestlers. And basically what happens is He's looking around. Fiend spooks him, and then the lights go out, come back on, and Orton is perplexed, constantly looking around, going like, "Where is he? Where is he?" The ref and AJ Styles pay no attention to it. I can just say that because the Fiend didn't get involved in the match, they didn't physically attack Orton. That's why the ref didn't do anything. As for AJ, he's trying to win a match. So as it comes back, AJ's on the apron, ready for a phenomenal forearm. Orton turns around into it. AJ pins Orton. So the match next week is Keith Lee versus Matt Riddle versus AJ Styles in a triple threat number one contenders match to face Drew McIntyre, which I'm happy with because I like the idea of Keith Lee versus Drew McIntyre. I like the idea of AJ Styles versus Drew McIntyre. Riddle's the least interesting one for me, but I still wouldn't say no to seeing it. My ideal scenario would be essentially there's like no winner or anything, like something happens where it's just a no contest, and then I would love to have like a fatal 4-way TLC match. That would be pretty cool. But the one that probably I'm not looking forward to is what the rumored match is it's going to be Drew versus Braun Strowman. So essentially Braun Strowman was suspended because of what he did to Adam Pearce. I have a feeling he's going to come back next week, ruin the triple threat match, and then demand he gets the title shot instead, which I don't really want because we've already seen stuff like Roman and Braun multiple times. I know Drew's different to Roman, but it's just going to be that scenario. Big evil monster that the champion overcomes, and we've seen that before. And you saw what happened before with Fiend and Braun, and then Braun, Fiend, and Roman. Yeah, I just don't. And then even 2 weeks ago, like before Clash of Champions, we had Braun versus Roman, and Braun just got the absolute crap kicked out of him by Roman. So I don't really want to see Braun versus Drew, to be honest with you. If that is the case, then I guess we'll just have to put up with it. But I personally, if I'm going like an ideal scenario, I would like AJ to win the match, so we get AJ versus Drew at TLC. Keith Lee can then go after Bobby Lashley because in a way he has a claim of a victory over Bobby Lashley. Like he was going to win, but MVP got involved. So you can have a US title match between Keith Lee and Bobby Lashley. Matt Riddle and Sheamus could probably have a match on pay-per-view. And then if we have to have Braun versus anyone, I don't know. Like maybe Braun can just cause havoc at TLC or something. I really don't want Braun versus Drew. But yeah, like I said, that's pretty much how the show ends with the triple threat match being made. And yeah, I thought it was a really good Raw. Like the majority of the matches were really good. It gives me a reason to tune into next week for the triple threat. Like what happens with the New Day and Hurt Business. I don't think Hurt Business will get another shot because that's 2 they've had and they've lost both of them. But yeah, like I said, I'm very interested to see what happens next week. I thought it was a very good show. It's just a shame you had the Drew McIntyre and the whole braid camera work. The braid camera work's not as big as the Drew mess up, but unfortunately that's what everyone's taken away from it, from what was actually a very solid Raw. Like I said, I really enjoyed this episode of Raw, and I'm excited for the triple threat next week. We know Orton Bray's leading into a feud, so that should be good. Like maybe Bobby Lashley, Keith Lee. Fun thing as well, no Retribution tonight, so that's sort of gone under the water. But funnily enough, no Drew McIntyre either, so no WWE champion. Maybe he'll be on next week. I think it was fine that he wasn't on because the whole story for tonight was the setting up the qualifying match, like the number one contenders match. So I'm fine when the champion's not on for that reason. And then it makes it a big deal when Drew comes back on and goes, "Oh, so you're challenging me, are you? Let's do something about this," type thing. Yeah, so that's pretty much going to be what my thoughts on Raw were. I managed to make this video about 25 minutes. I'll go over a quick recap and then end it there. So, I really enjoyed the tag match. I enjoyed the fact that they took the winners of the teams and gave them a reward for it. So all the men winners had qualifying matches to potentially become contenders for Drew's title. Lana got a women's title shot, maybe not through her choice, but through Asuka's choice more than anything. I like that Bobby Lashley had logic as to why he should be a contender as well, because he also did win at the pay-per-view. And then, yeah, like I said, I like Riddle versus Sheamus. I like Lee versus Bobby Lashley. I like AJ versus Orton. Love the tag match. Nikki versus Alexa was great storytelling. There's a couple of funny segments that happened. Like, I enjoyed the 24/7 segment. I know a lot of them sort of feel like one and the same because it ends the same way with R-Truth running away with the title. But I actually quite enjoyed that segment. I enjoyed the whole Matt Riddle MVP thing. But yeah, I thought it was a really, really good Raw, and I'm excited to see who wins the triple threat next week. But that's my thoughts on the Raw after Survivor Series. Do let me know what you think. And yeah, let's hope next week is just as good. And I shall hopefully see you in the next one.